Welcome to Fostering Parenthood.
Consent, porn,
normal relationship,
being a teen mom,
my first real adult love,
what it's like to be a foster child.
Every person I had an attachment with had left.
How trauma impacts your decision making.
I didn't feel very accepted and I didn't feel very safe.
And he said, you are lowering your own value by putting up with this.
And I wish someone was there to be there and tell me that it wasn't okay.
How do I honor providing that space for them?
It's about being in a place to be open to someone sharing with you their hurts.
Making sure that you guys are going into things open and supportive, or just even willing, right, to have these conversations.
I need you to find the strength to call someone and say, I'm drowning right now.
It's helpful to know yourself first as a caregiver.
But I just want caregivers to know that you're not alone.
You called me mom. In today's episode, we're honored to have Maria, a mom and former foster youth who faced the unimaginable challenge of deciding to have a baby while homeless on the streets of Los Angeles. Maria and her boyfriend, both former foster youth, ran away from foster care together when they were denied the opportunity to be placed or even see each other. Join as Maria shares her inspiring journey of raising her child while navigating the foster care system.
Yes, so I did go into the system when I was 15. I ran away from home due to a very bad situation with family members that I chose was very toxic and not healthy for me. Others would argue, in the family that I was ungrateful, but sometimes situations are better left to, leave or be able to go somewhere else that you would consider safe. And from there on, I was picked up by the sheriffs and they put me into a foster home. And leading up to that, my first foster home was the foster home that I was in for a long time. I was there for a year where I met the father of my child. And, being in the system, everything is different. Trying to get a connection with someone else, as a parental wise, wanting to be accepted for who you are. And as a child, when you didn't grow up in a home where I'm proud of you or being told I love you isn't something you hear so often, when you go into a home, you think it's going to be different. It's going to be better, considering the fact that it's a place where they're taking care of children, for kids that come in really horrible places and have been through a lot. It wasn't what I expected when it's the same as, might as well just should have stayed with my bio family. And many of these homes do seem like that, but there are others that, are good, but there's, it's like a needle in a haystack. And for me, I was there for a year and I would do a lot for my foster parents, to try to get that validation from them. And I did make a mistake with my boyfriend, the father of my child. We weren't allowed to really date, go out, do teenage stuff. So, for us, we felt like we had to rebel because they didn't support our decision as, teenagers. And even though we were just teenagers, for us, it's like, well, if they want to treat us like, like we're adults, they should give us that trust to be able to, go to the movies or go to the mall, hang out for a while, and, for them to pick us up or for them to be there, just not with us, the whole majority of the time. But the daughter of my boyfriend's foster mom they would tease him about it and stuff, and they would have family parties because my foster mom was in-laws with his foster parents, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, there's a connection, sure.
Yeah, so when we would have, go over to the other people's houses, or, he would ask permission, like, oh, can we go over? And they would say no, or they would just ignore him like he's not even there, which was really rude. They could at least say, no, you can't come, but they would literally straight up ignore him like he's not even there, not even acknowledge him at all. So he would get mad and just go to his room. And then COVID hit, and we weren't allowed to see each other at all, but they would have family outings. So my foster mom would take turns with her husband to take their kids out. So one weekend the husband would take their kids out, and then another weekend my foster mom would take the kids out. So they would take turns, and only us, quote unquote foster kids would stay home, which was really unfair to us, because we're like, well, why do your kids get to go out but we don't? They used to take them out to eat or take them to, their family member's house. And so during that time, we would text and we would be like, you know what, let's leave. He wanted to see me. He's like, well, let me go over. He made this because he knew the work schedule. So he came on a weekend of a double shift that he was pulling. So he did come through my window and stuff. And I had a roommate, well, not a roommate, but another foster sister that was in there with me. And I asked her, I was like, hey, do you feel comfortable if he comes? He wants to see me. And she was like, yeah, I don't care. She was supposedly going to sneak out too. So I was like, okay, you know what, whatever. I don't even care. And he did. He snuck in the room and everything. And he didn't get caught until, I guess, a neighbor, told him like, hey, I saw someone going into your window. And that's when he brought it to our attention. And then I was like, I was so fed up. I didn't even care if I got in trouble. I was like, yeah, I brought him in. And he was so furious. He was like, you know what? Get your bags. You're leaving. And I went to my room, and I was so furious that I didn't want to eat. I was so mad that I didn't want to eat. So they were threatening to take me to a mental hospital because I was not eating. I was like, I don't want to eat because I'm upset, not because I'm freaking crazy and don't want to eat to kill myself or something. And so the whole situation was just like blown out of proportion, it felt like so unfair because how I've said before, if it was their biological kids, they wouldn't just be able to say, you know what, pack your stuff, you're leaving. You have to stick it through with them, whatever, however your kids may be, you can't just get rid of them, so for me to be with them for so long and, to make my first mistake ever, it hurt a lot. So from that moving forward, I was like, you know what, foster parents are BS. Like, this is BS. Like, I don't want to be in the foster system anymore. So then they separated us. Like, they moved me 2 hours away for us to not be able to see each other. But we decided to retaliate against that and try to prove people wrong, for saying that we weren't meant to be, and that just because we're foster kids that it's not allowed. So we decided to run away, and we were homeless for, I'd say, about 5 months.
So, wow. Well, I have to kind of take a breath, right? The what you've been through. I can't even imagine, right? Multiple homes. I know I've heard you say that you felt like a piece of trash, like you made one mistake and you were thrown to the curb. And I know it broke my heart when I heard it. What could those foster parents have done when you did make the decision to have your boyfriend at that time sneak in your window and he snuck in? How could they have handled that better than grab your bags and you're out?
Speaking, as a mother now, I definitely talk to Nelson about this all the time because we did get, we do have a daughter, so, they are very rebellious and stuff. And I wouldn't say she has more to lose, because she can get pregnant. But sadly, it's the truth, because she does, girls are more vulnerable than guys. And I think in that situation that I feel and felt at the time that they put us in to do that was to allow us to support our decision to date, and for them to even at least let him go over, even if it's just sit on the couch and watch a movie, because they wouldn't even allow us to do that,
Right.
And definitely, like, oh, let's go to the park, we'll be there with you guys, just the small things that matter of us spending time together would have definitely made a big impact in our decision. Like, I was doing really good in that foster home. I had good grades. I was gonna go into an ROP dental program that was gonna allow me to graduate and have a dental assisting diploma where I could have gone straight to work in senior year. I was so ahead in my credits at that time that I was gonna do night classes and work in the morning, but everything, COVID and everything just kind of messed everything up, and also my decision did too. Looking back at it, I tell him all the time, imagine if we were still there, I would have had my career, we would have been working, we would have, been able to save and everything. Definitely did change our course a lot. Also being homeless wasn't the best decision ever. We could have gone about it differently, but at the time, because we were so stuck on wanting to be together and wanting to prove people wrong, we weren't thinking like logically, kids, how kids are, they don't care, we want to do what we want to do and not really think about the consequences.
Yeah, and I can also, as I'm listening to you, I hear you say, if somebody would have just heard me, not just listened, but heard what my real need was, and that's to be able to be normal, not to be a foster kid with different rules, but to just be one of your kids that's allowed to have a boyfriend, that's allowed to go to the movies or to the mall and walk around for a while. And the fact that you felt almost like you were different, like there was something wrong with you because the rules didn't apply to all children in the home, but just to the foster children.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, it's very hard, for not just me, but I'm sure for all the kids out there in foster homes.
Yeah, and they walk that same walk, right? It might look a little different, but it's that same need as a teenager to be heard and to be respected. Although, it goes both ways, right? We want teenagers to also be respectful. Now, once you made the decision to become homeless, can you tell me about that? What was that world like?
Let me tell you, it was crazy. I was 2 hours away from Nelson. I had a friend that had a car, and I was like, hey, can you take me this place? And it's actually hard to believe, but my foster home at the time did encourage me to leave. And I don't really say that a lot because, many foster parents or, in this community, they're like, well, that's impossible. Why would a caregiver want to encourage you to go homeless? You know what I mean? She knew that I wanted to be with Nelson because I would tell her, and she would tell me, you know, if you have the money and you are able to go see him, you can go see him. Like, she had given me permission and stuff. She was like, but if you're gonna leave, you have to let me know so I can tell the social worker. She didn't report me missing when I was missing. She had called the other foster daughter that lived in the home, ran away with me as well, and she thought, you know what, they're gonna come back. So we left for 2 days, and then that's when she started calling her foster daughter and saying, if you guys don't come home, I'm gonna report that, you know, you guys ran away. And she gave us like 4 days to come back until she reported it. And her foster daughter did go back, I didn't, and she still had reported me. She reported me, like, I think a week later. I'm not sure what's it called, exactly how long it took for her to report me, but she did not report me as a runaway right away. I think she was still getting money. I'm not sure there.
And of course, we know that caregivers need to report children missing within a very short timeline, within hours, not within days.
Yeah, exactly. I literally walked out of her house with a bag and shoes, and she saw me. Like, she was like, I'll just turn off the camera, you can leave, and then just, if you're gonna come back, your room is gonna be here. So I thought my room was gonna be there, you know. And so I left with Nelson, and it got really messy during the first week that we left because, you know, she had her foster daughter with her since she was a baby. So she was really, you know, I wouldn't say worried about her, but she just wanted to know where she was at. She didn't want her to get pregnant, none of that. So, you know, she was, you know, trying to figure out where we were at. And also my sister was the one that kind of reported me first, I think, because she like was looking for me. My sister was the one to find me. She had texted some friends and stuff, and you know, I was naive. I thought, you know, oh, my friend's not gonna rat me out. So I told him where I was at, and he freaking told my sister. And then my sister came, and me and her got into a physical fight. I was like, I don't want to leave. You know, you don't know what it's like to be in the system. You can just hear what the adults are saying, but you're not listening to what I'm going through. So we got into it, and then that's when me and Nelson said, you know what, let's leave. And we left my foster sister, and we just left. And after that, I don't know what happened to her. I know she did go back, and we left to a nearby park that was right there, and that's where we pretty much stayed. Most of the time we were you know, just there, because I know my foster sister's boyfriend was way much older than her. She was 15 at the time, and he was 18. So he let us stay with him at his house for a few days, and his mom was okay with it. But because my sister threatened to call the police on them, and they didn't have papers, they said, oh, you guys have to leave. So we left, and then that's when we had no choice to go to the park, and we were sleeping and staying there. And
How do you survive, Maria? I mean, you know, you talk about this park, right? How do you survive? How do you stay warm? Where do you sleep? How do you get water and food?
Well, I was really ratchet at the time, so I left with a pair of shorts and 2 dresses. That's it. So
you didn't pack well, girl.
Yeah, I didn't. So I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? And thankfully, thankfully, you know, I always tell my baby daddy, you know, God was really with us. He was with us the whole time, because we were in a city where a lot of people did meth. It's not the prettiest. It was really hot at the time, and it was during COVID too. So we would just sit there at the park, to be honest. We were there sitting for 2 days, and then we started seeing a lot of, you know, regular crackheads there coming. So, we decided to talk to one of them. Nelson, not really so much. He was like, no, why are you going to talk to them? Like, that's weird. I was like, who cares? I was like, we're here living life. Let's just talk to one of them. And we did. And I remember that day that we started talking to them, they were like, they thought we were undercover cops.
Oh my.
So we're like, no, we're literally young. Like we were 17 at the time. I was like, I am not an undercover cop. I was like, we literally ran away. Like, we're runaways right now. And they were like, seriously? And they bought us food and stuff because they get EBT for homeless, for being homeless. And a lot of them were veterans. A lot of them gets a check because they used to be in the army or whatever. But because they have kids and stuff, they would have to give child support. And whatever they would have left, they would buy us food. And me and Nelson, it was really new to us, obviously, never experiencing homelessness. I think we kind of got like doing stuff that you wouldn't even think about, like nasty, like if we needed to use the restroom, we had to pop a squat in the back of the park, like use socks to wipe and stuff like that. And now that I think about it, I'm like, that is so gross. I can't believe we did that stuff. Like, thank goodness for no infections. I was like, because that's just like so how do you say hygienic? Yeah. And then like for showers and stuff, we would have to take a shower in the restroom. So the restroom is like one toilet, sink and everything. And there was a lot of clean homeless people. There was this one guy that would wash the whole floor to take a shower. He would scrub it and throw powder soap all over it and clean it really, really good with the broom. And then he would clean it for us too. And every homeless people had turns. They would take turns of the week to take a shower because they know it's a family park, and which is really crazy to see that side of homeless people as well, people that have drug addictions, because I know a lot of people don't feel for them, but sometimes they end up in these situations where drugs really do take over, you know what I mean? And it's really sad to see, but homeless people will always have my heart. Like, I always try to give them something whenever I see them. But they would take turns out of the week to shower. You can't be in there for more than 20 minutes because it's a kid park. They would respect. They wouldn't shoot up in front of the kids and stuff. If one of them was acting weird, another tweaker would be like, hey, leave. Like, they would ban the people that were really tweaked out. I remember this one time, this homeless guy, he was a tweaker, and he tried to touch me, and I told the other guys that would protect us, and they beat him up. They were like, don't come touching them like they're kids. And thankfully we never saw him again, but there was definitely a lot of weirdos. And sometimes we did go days without eating because they would disappear. We would have to collect cans sometimes. A couple of times, actually. It's very scary. This guy, he said he was going to take us to get food. And, us being teenagers, dumb, we didn't really think about it too much. We got in his car and we went to go get food. He took us to the back of like a supermarket, the back of a supermarket, and he pulled out a gun on us. He thought that we were really undercover cops, and we were like, yo, like, we don't roll like that, like, we're not cops. And he tried to force us to take meth, and we were like, we don't smoke any of that. We were like, we're literally like 17, we're underaged and stuff. And thankfully he took us back to the park, and we had told one of the guys that were there, but excuse me, I know there was, because in Fontana there's a lot of undercover cops because they tried to there's the mafia or whatever, which is really scary, to think about that.
Very scary.
Yeah, I tell Nelson all the time, like, we really dodged a bullet, because we knew someone where his mother-in-law used to do voodoo and stuff. And I was like, thankfully we didn't do anything for anyone, because people will literally like initiate you into gangs and stuff without you even realizing it. You know what I mean? So we were out there for 4 months bouncing around parks. A lot of people didn't like us. Like, a lot of homeless people didn't like us. They would try to mess with us. I got into a physical fight with a 35-year-old. Her boyfriend liked me at the time, and she was like, "You're texting my mans." I'm like, "No." And we got into a physical fight. It was bad, but I was like, "I'm literally underage. I could press charges on you." And I never seen her. I was like,
Wow.
I never seen her after that. It was really scary.
Maria,
like,
you are...
I could literally name so many situations that we've been put through. We'd be here forever.
Wow. It's I'm literally speechless. I thinking about a 17-year-old. If you think about your daughter, right, at 17, going through what you did, feeling like that was the only choice you had simply because you didn't have anyone that listened, that heard you. What made you decide to get pregnant?
I think it was more of a, me and Nelson were having sex, and he would say, "Well, what if we get pregnant?" I'm like, "Then we have a baby." Like,
Right.
And he was like, "Yeah, but what are we going to do?" And I was like, "Well, you get a job, I get a job, and, we can do it." He was like, "Yeah, but it's a lot of responsibility." And I would tell him too, I was like, if we have a kid, that's big, we can't be out in the streets. And I think we did try to get pregnant, but it didn't happen in the beginning because I was really malnourished. Like, I did go to the hospital. I even used a fake name because I didn't want them to say, "Oh, she's missing," So I used a fake name and stuff. And then they did tell me that my my hormones were, like, it wasn't capable to hold a baby and stuff. So after that week, we were like, "Oh, well, I can't get pregnant." And then I did get pregnant, and I was throwing up for a week straight. Like, I couldn't hold anything down. Already being homeless, I wasn't eating enough, so I was throwing a lot of acid, like acidity stuff. It was really horrible. Like, I was literally super, super skinny, and people that we were staying with were like, "I think you're pregnant." And I was like, "No, I can't be." Like, I literally just went to the hospital. They told me I can't. So I think 4 days passed, and I'm just like really, really sick, throwing up. And they were like, "Oh, maybe you just have a bug." And they gave me juice, to see if I will hold that down. And that's when Nelson decided to go to the store and steal a pregnancy test. We were homeless, we didn't have any money, so he stole a pregnancy test, and we took it, and it came out a faint line, but it was positive.
It was a line.
It was a line. So I was like, "No way." So then he went and he got another one, and it came out super, super dark. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm pregnant." He was like, "What are we gonna do?" He was really happy. He started crying. And I was like, "Well, we have to leave." He's like, "Well, what if we go back to the system?" We were thinking about going back to the system. I was like, "Well, what if they separate us?" That was our main concern. Well, what if they don't allow us to be together in the same home? And so then that's when I called my sister and asked for the social worker's number. And we had been through it a lot. We were together practically 24/7. Like he would be in the restroom with me while I was using the restroom. Like we were, there was no separation. So
Right.
no
secrets, right?
Yeah. So after calling the worker, I was like, we're only going back if we get a place together, or at least close. And Nelson, luckily enough, he did have a family friend, foster guardian / parent that was able to take him in. And I had to stay at the shelter, and I was literally going crazy. I was like, I need to talk to him. I need to know if he's okay. And then being, again, like with authority, if someone's older than me, I'm gonna, luckily my biological family, my mother did show me to respect my elders and all that. So, when they told me, oh, you can't bring phones inside, obviously I'm gonna say, oh, well, if I can't bring them inside, I'm gonna, I gave them my phone. So throughout the whole time, I was just like anxious, scared, not being with him. I was like, I need to talk to him, need to make sure he's okay. And there was kids there that had their phones. So I was like, I thought we couldn't have phones. But these kids, I guess they were like, well, they can't, physically take your phone away. So, and I'm like, really? They can do that? And they're like, yeah, they can't take your phone. I was like, what? They told me I can't. So at that point, I was like, I need to talk to him. I need to know where he's at. And thankfully, one of the staff members did like me, and she let me borrow her phone, and I signed in into my Instagram, and I was able to, get a hold of him, and he just started bawling out, crying, like, I miss you, where are you at? Like, everything's gonna be okay. It was just crazy.
So now you're pregnant. How pregnant are you right now?
At the time, I think I'm like a month in.
Okay, so you were just
like 3 weeks for a month.
Yeah, so you just got pregnant, right? And so now he's with a NEFRM, right? A non-family related caregiver. You're in a group home. Did you get placed with a caregiver?
Yes. The closest thing they found, like closest to him, they put me in Palmdale with a foster mom. Everything was great in the beginning. She would be very attentive and everything. And then towards the end, she kind of, distanced herself from me. I was still, not, I know I'm pregnant and everything, and, I'm adulting or trying to adult. She still had, I felt like she still had responsibilities as a foster parent, because she chose to want to be a foster parent. So definitely, I had to remind her about my appointments. I had to remind her about stuff that I shouldn't have to remind her about. And then we did get another foster youth in the home that was pregnant as well. Hormones in the home.
Oh wow, yeah, I forgot about that.
So definitely. I don't know what this girl had over me. Like, she would just talk a lot of crap, and then she tried to bust my door open, and I'm like, holding my door so she doesn't come in my room, and she wanted to fight, and I'm like, I'm pregnant, I'm not gonna fight you. I'm like, if I'm not pregnant, I was like, we could talk about it, but I'm pregnant. So I'm like, you're not touching me, like, we're not about to do this. And the foster mom didn't do anything about it. She took her side, and I remember her telling me, well, she's immature, and you understand, that's why I take her side. And in my head, I'm like, just because she's immature doesn't mean you need to enable her attitude, her behavior, because then that allows those kinds of kids to want to do, how they treat you and stuff. And it definitely kicked her in the butt later on, because literally she was my foster mom locked herself in the room in the situation that she put herself in, because I guess this girl heard her talking about her over the baby monitor, so she was going crazy. And I was pregnant, and I was like calling Nelson and his foster mom, like, can you pick me up? Like, this girl's crazy. She's about to do something to me. Like, I need to leave. And she called the cops and everything. And they had to take her away into a mental institute because of that, because she was breaking everything in the home. It was just like a situation that she could have avoided. It was just really bad, you know.
I love to hear not the stories, because these are really scary and disturbing stories, but coming from your perspective as opposed to this, our perspective as caregivers is so interesting, right? Because we don't really think about what's on the other side of that door. We think we understand as caregivers that this teenager that's behind the door trying to hold the door closed so that someone doesn't break it in, we're trying to look at both sides. And sometimes we do have to, it appears that we take a side, and yet we're really not. So you went from that caregiver to a different caregiver, correct?
Yes.
And then what happened?
I hit the jackpot.
What makes the caregiver that you switched to, which I believe was your final caregiver in foster care?
Yes.
Why was it the jackpot?
I think definitely the diversity that you guys have.
And let me explain why she said you guys. So I'm a caregiver. I think everyone who's listened to the podcast knows that by now. But my daughter and her wife are also caregivers. And we live on 10 acres. I know you could call it a commune or some crazy word, but it really is 10 acres, and there are 2 homes on it. And my daughter and her wife are also caregivers. So Maria was not placed with me. She was placed with my daughter and her wife. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So just right off the bat, it was good vibes. And one thing about me is I get vibes off of people. Like, I know, a lot of people don't believe in, spiritual and stuff, but definitely you could feel when someone's intentions are good and when someone's intentions are bad. And nobody's family is perfect. Definitely, everyone has their flaws. But when it comes to the kids and stuff, like, you guys are definitely attentive, making sure I have what I need. I remember you and Aaron. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say
It's okay. You can use Aaron's name.
You guys took me to go make sure I have what I need, because I came at a cold time. I think I came here when it was really cold. And my social worker was having a hard time locating my stuff. So definitely, taking me to get what I need and to get stuff that I need for the baby. She wasn't even here yet. It was like months to go. I already had a car seat and a stroller. I already had a high chair and stuff for her. And definitely just making sure that my well-being and my needs and everything is taken care of. And I did appreciate, how being here, you guys treated me like an adult, like apart from the kids. Like when I had, it's so dumb, but the chips, like I had Funyuns. Aaron had to get a subscription for me because I really love Funyuns. I don't think any other foster parent would do that. I really don't. And definitely, I love you was thrown a lot. like I miss you, I love you, this and that. It was definitely different from other homes and by my bio family, and where I come from. It's definitely something that doesn't compare to any other place. The kids have everything they need, like literally I would love to live here. Like, still.
You did. Actually, you still do, because I'm Nana to your baby. So.
Yes, definitely. But definitely any kid that comes here is lucky and will be really fortunate, to experience something that you don't get too often in any other homes.
Well, thank you for saying that. And honestly, guys, I didn't pay her to say that. I think it's the reality, though, and I hope that it's heard in the right way, that this isn't, a Dorothy's house kind of, pro versus negative. I think that the difference is just hearing the kids, listening, valuing, kind of hearing those messages of what I need and meeting those needs, and not just hearing them and saying, yeah, okay, yeah, everybody's got needs. Even something so simple as learning the language of love, right? Obviously, gifts are important to you in terms of your language of love. Also, hearing an affirmation of, you're doing so well, and I love you, and I'm going to miss you. And when we bring kids into our home, we are bringing kids into our home. We are not just allowing a stranger an open bed. That is not what foster care is all about. Foster care is about inviting a human being to be part of your family. And I think that the important part is looking at that individual as an individual. Maria, when you came, we didn't know you had been through homelessness. We didn't know about Nelson. We didn't know a whole lot. But we wanted to know more. And by meeting Nelson, and I'm probably one of the more conservative folks, right? I'm like, oh no, I don't care if she's pregnant or not. We're watching those two because, they're not going to be doing anything on my couch, right? So, we were conservative and yet valued you for who you are. And I cannot really remember a time when I would say you were disrespectful. You reciprocated that same love and that same respect that you gave us, right? I mean, that we gave you. I Tell us about your baby shower.
It was not what I expected. It was so pretty, having you guys put all that thought for someone that isn't your kid. I really did enjoy that. I still have the pictures and everything. Luna was really loved and everything. You were there for my birth. So
I got to be her birth coach. Push! It was pretty fun.
Yeah, so I think all of that definitely, ties into the feeling like, family and stuff. And definitely, Nelson, being, you guys allowed him to sleep over, but he wasn't in my room. He was downstairs. I think that's another thing that was really important to him and me, being pregnant and stuff, because he really didn't get to enjoy me as his pregnant girlfriend, babe, I need this, babe, I need that, sharing that together. But we did get to on the weekends when he was allowed to come over. I remember talking to my old foster home prior to coming here, asking if he would be able to sleep over, and she wouldn't allow it. I was like, even if he sleeps on the floor, on the couch, I don't care, the door open, I don't care. And it just wasn't something that she allowed, and she would bring her religion into it. And I would, I didn't really want to argue because whatever her religion, but I still feel like we're already pregnant. What else are we gonna? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. And again, it really wasn't. It wasn't a lot to ask. I mean, he was and is the father of this beautiful baby girl. You were very respectful. You listened to the rules. We set guidelines and boundaries, and that was what was important. And so we basically found that common area, right, where we felt like you were safe. We felt that Nelson was safe, and you were able to enjoy part of that pregnancy together, and then, of course, the birth. So bring us up to speed. Where are you now?
We have our apartment together, a 2-bedroom. He works full-time. I'm trying to see if I can work maybe, in the nighttime. I do have a warehouse job where I package stuff, but I'm not really able to get there because we don't have a working car right now. I am studying for my dental assistance. It's a 8 to 10 month program. I'm hoping to be done with it soon. And then after that, I would want to work, save as much as I can because I'm almost 21. So, the system's gonna, that money benefit's gonna be over. And I tell Nelson, imagine now that we have this help, it's still not enough. Imagine what it's gonna be like when it's gone. So we definitely do have some money saved on the side to buy a house, hopefully next year. But yeah, big things are coming.
Wow. I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you. And you and Nelson are amazing parents. You are probably one of the most intentional moms. Even as you're sitting here on this podcast, I see you looking out the window because I know your daughter is out there playing with her dad, but you
Yes.
cannot take your eyes off of her. If you were to give advice to a caregiver who had a teenager in their home, pregnant or not pregnant, what would you tell them about meeting that teenager's needs?
I think definitely remembering that they were a teenager once. Because I know a lot of adults that have a lot of teenage stories that can go on forever. Definitely if a parent's going to say no, their kids are going to do it anyways. So rather know that their kids are safe and being responsible in front of you than them doing it behind your back and something worse happen.